Hey guys, it's Dom here, and today I thought I'd do a little kind of interesting video looking back at some of the custom cards that I've made in the past and deciding which ones are my favourite. So I've compiled the ones that I like the most and put them in this video, and I'm not only going to explain how they work, but explain why I like them. So I guess without further ado, we'll get into the first card that I really liked, and ironically I think this is one of the first cards I ever actually showed off on my channel, and it's Remains of Brass Fortress, a free cost action which will put two 1/1 assembled prototypes into your hand. Now these assembled prototypes are little factotum cards, which are 1-cost 1/1s, which when they are summoned will assemble to gain 1 health for you or for your factotum cards. Now the thing that I think really balances this out is that if you play this early, you can either play these quickly and give all of your factotum cards these weak little buffs, or you can leave this in your hand from the early game and then summon all your bigger factotum cards, then play these really small cards to get those big boosts. But the thing is, if you draw your Remains of Brass Fortress later, they won't have any of the assemble boosts that you've played before that, because they weren't in your deck. So it has a few different kind of like mashups and different ways it works, but I think it's still just a really nice little funky card towards an archetype which unfortunately didn't get that much love. So next was Deal with the Mad God. Now this was a bit of a wacky card that I really like the idea of. So it's a 5-cost action which will draw you a random double card, and then it will play one of those cards for free, but you don't get to choose which one of those it plays for free. Now when it says double card, it doesn't mean that it has to be the same two paths. Like you could get Tavyar and a Cloak, for instance. It doesn't have to be the ones that come together. It's just got to be two cards which are part of a double card. So this could sometimes get you massive value and pull like Cadwell the Betrayer and Tavyar, as I said, or it could just pull you like a Cloak and a Grunmite. So that kind of RNG and wackiness to it is really, really cool, and it also kind of works quite well with Unite the Houses decks, because it could get you something of the correct attribute colour that you need. So yeah, it's got a few different kind of playstyles with it, and as I love RNG cards, I just have to throw that one out there. Next we have the Flawless Gladiator, a 5-cost card which is typed Imperial Plus, and I think the plus was Combatant, because I made like a special Combatant type for that video. I don't actually remember too much. But this is a 4 power, 4 health unit, which when summoned will battle a creature, and if it slays your opponent's creature, it will draw the top creature of your deck and give it +1 power. So I feel like this is just a really nice engine for warriors, because they can use it to kill something and then like draw another card and have it be slightly better than it would have been already. Because it's not really that strong a buff, I don't think it's really that impactful, but I think it is pretty cool that it is just like a nice bit of draw power, as well as like also a little bit of removal when you first summon it. So it has multiple uses, works really well for warrior, and is just in general a cool card, like really cool artwork, everything like that. Maybe it should be more like a unique legendary, but I do quite like it as an epic. Right, so now we have Assassination Contract, a 4-cost action which when played will damage a unit by the cost of a revealed card, and then Slay will draw a completed contract. Now this again was part of a set which was all about revealing cards in your hand and your opponent's hand, so it's kind of understandable that with those cards this one makes sense, but on its own it's a bit weird because you won't really have any cards revealed. But in that set you'd have a lot of things that could reveal the strongest card in people's hands, the weakest, stuff like that. And if this card could easily reveal the strongest card in your opponent's hand, like you might actually be able to like deal 12 damage with a 4-cost and get a completed contract, but more realistically you're probably going to be like dealing 3 or possibly even 4 damage and getting a completed contract from that if it does get the kill. And because of that it's not too strong, as it's very much situational on what you have revealed at the time of play. But yeah, another one of those cool cards which I think just would slightly fit well into Assassin. Next we have the Spawning Pool. Now this card is a bit of a meme, but we all love memes here, and it's a 4-cost support for neutral, which will ongoing at the end of your turn summon a 1/1 Foraging Mudcrab, and when it's destroyed it will give all friendly Mudcrabs +1/+1. Now the first issue some people might see is that this is a guaranteed strength grab for Unite the Houses decks, but that's not what I was thinking about when I made this. I was thinking more about Mudcrab decks, so having one with like Old Salty's Assault, flooding one side of the board, then getting Foraging Mudcrabs down, then having your opponent unfortunately have to get rid of it to stop the Mudcrab swarm, and then buffing all your units on the board and having this ridiculous swarm of mud crabs taking down your opponent, truly showing that they are some terrible creatures. And I thought, you know, not only would that be funny, but it's like the what's it called? It's the 5 cost support for willpower, which summons Imperial Grunts, but this has less synergy. Okay, next on to Harvest. This is a card that's actually from the campaign, but I kind of readjusted it so it would work a bit better for multiplayer in my opinion. And it's a 3 cost support, which will make it so at the end of your turn, if you have no cards in your hand, you can draw 1 card. Now if you have 2 copies of this down, at the end of your turn, if you have no cards in hand, you draw 2 cards, and if you had 3 down, you draw 3 cards. And the thing that makes this really nice is just, if you're in one of those situations where you're about to win, but your opponent fully counters it, and you've just run out of hand completely, and you're drawing 1 card a turn, it's well too slow and will just basically lose you the game. So with something like this, you'll get an extra card, which will give you an additional chance to kind of pull back. And just having that extra chance obviously can kind of make less games end in a forfeit, which is kind of what I was aiming for with this. Plus, I mean, it's just a kind of nice simple card, isn't it? I mean, there's nothing too like special about it. Right, now we have the Master Pickpocket, a 4 cost 2/6, which is not a unique legend, or sorry, it's not a legend, it's a legendary, but it's not unique. I should really just speak better. Anyway, this has the ability Pickpocket, which is a special keyword, which means that I believe it only gets it when it attacks while it has cover, which means you could just set up like a hidden trail movement deck with this in, or, you know, just use the rest of the set, which had other cards which would give this cover. But the thing that makes this card not too busted is that it wouldn't work on a ward because its attack would pop it, and it wouldn't stop lethal just because obviously this steals the keywords after it's damaged it, and this card does need to survive to actually like use this effect. So if your opponent's monster's got like 7 or 8 attack, this is a bit helpless because it will just get destroyed. But I thought this is just a nice little addition because it will mean that you can kind of throw it to kind of just siphon keywords off your opponent's units. Definitely an Anasi stopper. Right, so next we have the Prostskinned Drake, a 4 cost card for Battle Mage, and it's got 3 power and 5 health. And when a friendly dragon slays a creature, you can play this card from your deck or hand. Now what I really like about this is that it's just basically an easy summon for kind of like a dragon deck. But because it's Battle Mage, you do have to be playing some like, I guess you could play the Moons of Elsewhere kind of dragons, I suppose. But the best combos that you could do with this would require a Daggerfall Covenant dragon deck to have Galen in it to put 3 extra copies in your deck, and then summon 4 of these to the board, 3 of which would be 6/8s. But the actual card itself would probably run best in decks which have more like willpower cards in, or I guess Daggerfall Covenant isn't too bad for it, but I'd say maybe Guildsworn's probably a better angle to go for that kind of dragon deck. And then finally, one of my favourite cards was the Forsworn Briarheart, which is a bit of a mix between, what's it called? It's the Willpower Commander, which gives all your units in deck +1/+1, and Ungolem the Listener. So basically what this does is it's a 5 cost 2/2, which when summoned will shuffle 3 Forsworn Looters into your deck, and then give all Reachman cards in your deck +1/+1. So these Forsworn Looters are going to be 1/2s when they come out, but it just looks like that because obviously it doesn't have the buff from that Briarheart. And obviously the more Briarhearts you play, the stronger those Looters are going to be, and the stronger that everything else is going to be in your deck for a Reachman deck. And the Looters will just be very simple cards, which are 1 costs, and when summoned they'll draw a card and they'll give a creature 1 additional power. Because like the main theme with Reachman was that they were giving like other cards a bit more power, so this is just a very simple and kind of weak, nice little draw power card for them. But there we have it. That's some of my favourite custom card videos from over the years. Tell me which ones are your favourite, obviously. Like, were they the ones shown in this video? Were they other ones? And if you guys want to see me review some more of your custom cards, let me know. Or maybe even I'll just go back over the ones that I've already reviewed and tell you which ones are my favourites. But anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.